uma abertura de todos os dias. Boa tarde, pessoal. Boa tarde a todos que estão aqui presencialmente e acompanhando pelo YouTube. Essa é a terceira sessão de atividades que nós estamos fazendo aproveitando a visita do professor HAFEZ da Universidade de Nottingham, na Inglaterra. O professor HAFEZ, ele veio ao Brasil, ao UFRJ, ao nosso programa de Ciências Contábeis, com o uso de recursos da CAPES, do projeto CAPES Print, para passar um período de 15 dias aqui conosco, e essa é uma atividade dentro do escopo do projeto. O professor HAFEZ é pesquisador na área de óleo e gás e professor titular na Universidade de Nottingham, então ele tem muito a compartilhar conosco. Hoje o tópico de sua apresentação é sobre desenvolvimento de carreiras, né, de caminhos possíveis de desenvolvimento de carreiras, obviamente sob uma perspectiva internacional, é o que pode interessar alguns colegas, imagino que não apenas a professores, como também estudantes que tenham interesse no futuro desenvolver carreiras no exterior. Professor, many thanks for being here with us. I was saying to our audience that today presentation is going to be on career development and possibilities, not only for scholars, for professors, but also students that may want to engage in an international career in the near future. So I'm really happy to have you here with us again for another activity. Feel welcome to our room and our session. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for coming to attend this session. Now, this session is about how we develop a research career. I don't pretend to be the most experienced one here in this room, so please feel free to chip in, to add, to contribute when you feel you have something to add. So, these are the contents of my presentation this afternoon. So, I'll bring up some introduction, talk about our research profile and research strategy, how we build a profile, what strategy we follow, or we need to follow, and then I'll talk about the author of academic networking. And I will end up talking about research strategy measures. So, as an introduction, we know in order to develop our career as a researcher, we need to think strategically about how we can build up our experience, expertise, and skills and move forward. Obviously, when we get our PhD, we keep dreaming of having a lecturer job, a lectureship. Then, when we are in lectureship, we start to think of how we can develop into senior lecturer or associate professor, and then to professor. And we know there are different layers of associate professors and professors. So we keep thinking of how we can improve, how we can advance our career. So initially, as a researcher, to be seen in the right way, we need to show the right stuff to the right people. That's a simple key message. Not so difficult, but we need to focus on how we want others to see us and how others can perceive us as well. So every one of us should have a research profile. Research profiles, it could be on ResearchGate, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be even on Facebook. But the way we build our research profile, it shows who we are. So we have to be careful about what we put on the research profile. So the research profile needs to address you as a researcher, your skills, attitude, motivations, and values, and also the focus of the research profile needs to be on research we do. What do we do? What are we known for? So here, I believe everyone is doing accounting, maybe finance. So do we do financial accounting or management accounting? Is it taxation? Is it corporate governance? Is it financial management? I hear sometimes colleagues say, I do research to do anything. And I tend to think this sounds like a medical doctor who is a general practitioner who does everything. That's not right for a researcher. Anyway, some people like to be seen as such, so they can do everything, they are willing to do anything. Then, how you look at it, are you qualitative or quantitative researcher? Are you both? What theories do you use? And also, why you look at what you look on? So, is it because you want to aid the policy discussion, or are you trying to be just academic for the sake of writing academically, etc.? Then, Planning our research strategy. As I said, when we start our research career or academic career, we start with the PhD usually, or some people start before the PhD with master's degree, but we always want to develop, to enhance, obviously enhancing your profile, your career will increase your salary in one way or another. So try to plan your research career well in advance. Plan it on long term, but then break it up into smaller intervals. So where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? This could be a difficult question because 5 years is not a short period, it's a medium period, but how I know? Instead of answering the question of where you want to see yourself in 5 years, look at yourself 5 years ago and compare to where you are now. So could you have done something differently to be in the position you are in today a bit earlier? Probably yes, probably no. So that's where you need to start off thinking of the future. What do I need to do next year? I'm going to apply for promotion in 2-3 years' time. What do I need to do to be promoted? There are always boxes to tick. So think about these boxes. Try to plan your career. Otherwise, you will miss opportunities. And if I say miss opportunities, positions, and also you miss salary promotion. So define the long-term career success goal. For example, becoming a leading national or international player in a new field. When I talk to colleagues here, Fernanda is known for public policy. Another colleague is very well known for environmental accounting. So when we say environmental accounting, we know who we are talking about without mentioning the name. So that's becoming a leading national or international researcher in new field. My advice to my PhD students, to my educated researchers and colleagues, try to focus on one area. What's your area? So that's how you will be known for being a specialist in that area. If it's taxation of what? If it's corporate governance, what focus do you take, etc. So don't diversify too much because the extra efforts could be saved to specialize, to promote yourself and advance your career. Identify the medium-term goals. So 1 to 3 years, 1 to 2 years, that's short term, what I'm going to do next year. If I'm doing the PhD, okay, next year am I going to write a paper? Am I going to write a chapter in a book? And how this is going to tick the boxes, how it's going to help me to advance in my career. If you are a lecturer or associate professor, then think about the next step. Keep thinking of the next step. What do you need to do next? Don't stress too much about it because you're going to do it, but living without a plan will delay your achievement. Break your goals down into short and medium term. In 5 years' time, I want to be a full professor. Fine, but year 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm not going to sit and wait the 5 years to apply for my professorship. I can do a lot. Supervise doctoral students, examine external or internal doctoral students, publish, review papers, write articles, write chapters in books, whatever. So you should always have something on the agenda. Being known for an area will attract others to invite you as a keynote speaker, which sits big in your CV. So you can be invited as a keynote speaker in a workshop or a conference, etc. So, okay, it takes time, but if you don't look at it, if you don't build your career in advance and plan it well, then you will miss the opportunity. Remember, your main long-term goals and interim targets must be identifiable and measured. So you need to know how many papers are going to write. Are they in 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars? Where about? How many chapters in the book? How many books I'm going to write? Am I planning to take new PhDs to doctoral students? How many do I want to take? How many conferences do I need to attend? And how I'm going to benefit from these conferences? So always plan well and review your plan. Then prioritize short-term actions. As academics, we live under huge pressure, especially in the marketing, during the marketing season, where we have a lot of scripts to mark, plus your research, plus sometimes you can be teaching and marketing at the same time. And if you have managerial duties, so that's a lot of pressure. So we have to prioritize our tasks, otherwise we're not able to do anything. So is it the paper I'm focusing on? Is it funding bids? How many funding bids I need to write every year? You don't expect every funding bid to be successful, so but you need to plan. At least maybe I will write 3. If one of them is successful, it's fine. Or if one each 2 years successful, it's fine. And at the same time, you have to have a balance with management. If you are supervising doctorate students, well, you know, doctorate students keep you busy around the week. Sorry, I don't mean anything, but you do. This is if you are good supervisors, so you keep them busy. So you always have priority. Do you give priority to your doctoral student because you want them to finish and drive with them, or do you give priority to your funding base, which is your own? Then think ahead to the next steps. Always think ahead. If you are a lecturer, thinking of being associate professor, don't discard the thinking of being a professor, because there are boxes to tick. So if you take them earlier, that will help you to be promoted earlier. I know here in your system you have to wait 4 years or 8 years. I'm not sure how many years you have to wait before you're promoted, but you don't need to extend the period. So is it 4 years or 8 years from one lecturer to associate?
We have periods of 2 years that it will become associate 1 to 2 and 3 and 4 every 2 years.
So 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. So if it's 8 years, make sure it's 8 years. It's not 9, and you have the boxes to tick. So don't delay it, because otherwise you're delaying the advancement in your career. As I said, keep thinking of the next step. If you're associate, if you're a lecturer, think of the professorship. Although you have to go to the associate professorship. Review your progress. I know in my university, or in the UK in general, we have the annual appraisal where we sit with the line manager and we review the progress. You can do the review yourself. So sit with yourself and review what you've done within a year and see, are you happy with what you've done? Could you have done more, or are you planning to do more? Now, in moving up the career ladder, there are too many people who can help you. To be a clever academic or clever person, you need to know who are there and how can they help you. There are many people who are ready to help. If you approach them in the right way, they will help you. That will make your life much easier. So your career can only be developed with the involvement of other people, mentors. The mentor does not have to be a formal mentor. It could be a colleague, a senior colleague, who is there to answer your questions, to support, to guide, and to give you sometimes emotional support if you are stressed out. The head of department or the dean, those people, they have interest in your success, because your success adds to theirs. So make sure you use their service when it's available to you. So first step is to identify the type of people who are there around you and who are willing to help, and that's bring me to the networking. The networking can be internal or external, and I'm going to touch on the power of academic networking. This is something many academics miss. The networking has a power. If implemented, if used correctly, it shortens the periods. And it makes our life really easy. Think about if you're writing a paper or anything. If you know someone from any country who can help you, who can support you in writing that paper, that will shorten the time. So what you need to know someone who can be a co-author, and that's a networking. If you know that person and if they agree, then your life becomes much easier. Instead of spending 2 years to write a paper, it may take you 11 months. So, under networking, I'm going to cover these points. So, being bright and scholarly gifted is not enough to make it to the top of the academic career ladder. You need something. In addition to performance and productivity, cooperation and network relations to determine the path of academic career. And that's a fact. This is absolutely a fact. We talk sometimes about publishing in journals, and we hear people saying, unless you know someone from that journal, then you can't publish. So that's networking. If you apply for a conference, sometimes your application can be rejected, and if you know some people, somebody, to support you, that can be, a success factor. Being well connected and caring about research and partnership triple your chance of obtaining a professorship position, and that's for sure a fact. So in the UK, to apply for professorship, especially in many universities, if I want to apply internally, I need referees, and the referees must be external. So unless if I know someone externally who is ready there to write a reference letter, which may take them an hour of their time, a good reference letter, I will not be able to apply. So I need support from people who can invest in me, but at the same time, I will be ready to pay them back in one way or another. So that's our goal. Now, building professional names that help you advance your career based on your own metrics and qualification, that's what academic important is. It's not only focused strategy, just to advance your career. The networking is all that you see the value in developing friendly relationships with others. And that's the key word here. Friendly relationship, you seek their help, you should be ready to help them when they need you. This is how it works. Otherwise, the network will break. Please.
Às vezes, você fazer uma parceria no momento exterior vai trazer uma certa dificuldade, como você falando sobre graus de dependência da história interna. Aí eu vou falar com alguém dos Estados Unidos, eu fico vendo em termos de conflito temático, de conflito.
She's asking about how to build a network. She's working with internal auditing. And how to build a network with someone in the US or UK when you have cultural differences between the contexts. How can you manage with a contact like internal auditing and to manage the networking to suppress all the cultural differences that may have in the research field and also among the researchers?
Yeah, very interesting, very good question actually. That's a key. How to build a network. We need to find people with the same interest. How to find them could be through conferences, when you attend a conference, when you attend workshops, when people come to visit you here at the university or you go to visit them. And sometimes if you have if you are a member of a professional network, for example, LinkedIn, then you get to know people who share the same interest. Contact them, see what they are doing, drop them a question, or invite them to, for example, provide something, some explanation about the paper that will interest you. If I say to you, oh, I've seen your paper on whatever journal, I'm very interested in knowing what you've done. Can we schedule a meeting? You will be interested to talk to me because I'm talking about your research. So in this way, we could be friends. So it's simple, it's easy, it shows respect, and it moves forward. Again, there are many ways to build a network, but respect and mutuality must be there. So if I help you, if I read your paper and give you advice, I'd expect you to say yes to me if I send you my paper to read without delay. Otherwise, the data will break. So initially, if you are a researcher or teacher, if you are introvert or extrovert, whether you are still an early career researcher or advanced senior, you still need to build and sustain the network. Because it's something important to us as academics. So as I said, there are many people around you who are ready to help. You just need to identify them and to know how to approach them. So coaches, those people are well placed internally around you. They are more senior to you. They are happy to help. And sometimes they have authority on you. So if you think, who are they? If I'm a lecturer, if I'm a PhD student, my coach is my supervisor, obviously. If I'm a lecturer, just assistant professor, my coaches will be associate professor and professors. So it worked like this. And also my head of department, my dean, as I said, your dean, your head of department, your subject group leader, etc., they have interest in your success because your success adds to that. Then you have contributors. Contributors are people around you who do not have authority on you. They could be your colleagues in different departments who are there to help. If you ask them a question or if you seek advice, they are happy to support. So think of how many contributors are there. In academia, we have sometimes a lot of problems. It could be a problem with exam paper. It could be a problem with marking the exam paper. It could be a problem in admin problem. It could be a problem with the colleague. Sometimes we have problems with colleagues, and if you fall off with a colleague, then you need to maintain a healthy relationship with your colleagues. So you may turn to one of your other colleagues and seek advice. So that advice is a consultation, but that colleague could be from other department or from your department. So, but initially, if you think about it, this advice is a contribution to your colleague because they say you from other department. Yeah. And that happened. We could disagree on research questions. We could disagree on the pass rate. We could disagree on the program or anything. And we need people to support us to advise us sometimes because we may take their own approach. And I need someone to tell me peace off for taking their own approach. That person, to me, is a contributor. He's saving me from trouble.
Our colleague, João Paulo, que fez doutorado na USP, former PhD student from USP, he was hired at Glasgow University, and the department allocated to him one mentor for his career and one mentor for his career and all the bureaucracy inside the university, and another one to discuss research, outlets, conferences. So a young scholar recently hired has 2 members to coach him. Here we go.
I myself am not young, but back home at university I have a coach, and I'm very excited to meet him end of this month. So he's there for me to support me. He's from different school. He's from I think the medical school. So having a coach is a good thing. You can create your own coach. It could be someone who you trust. It could be a colleague. It could be a colleague from another department. Now, coming back to your point on different cultures, I came from Syria, Middle East. I live in the UK now, and at the moment I'm in Brazil. So I can work with you. I can work with Yara. I can work with Fernando, anyone. But although we are from different social cultures, but we share the same culture as academics. We understand each other as being academics. So there is a connection at the cultural level. So that's not a problem. And we know to build a good relationship with any other academic, it's trust and respect must be there. Other than this problem. Right, some more gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are people who give you access. So if you want to go on a conference, you need to apply. You need to see people's signature, etc. You need some people to open the gate to you, and those are admin stuff. So usually, sometimes they are overlooked. If you approach them in the right way, they will open the door wide for you, and they will support you. If you use the wrong approach with them, they will block you, and you have no access. So think of them. Who are they? They could be anyone, any admin. So we need them. We teach in classrooms, but they are, in the back offices supporting us. Without them, we can't do our teaching. So the way we treat them should be, in respect. They not support. Influencers. Those people, hand in the background and easily overlooked. They have very informal power on you. And this is because they have, sometimes because they have experience, they have skills. It's like professors in other departments, or even professors in other universities. So those people can influence your career in one way or another. It's always good to listen to them, receive advice from them. The good fathers are people with authority. They are head of department, your dean, director, or people with power. They have their own thinking, they have their own agenda because they have things to do. Sometimes we have conflict with their interests. They stop us from doing something, but they have real interest for success. So think about it. If head of department, if everyone in the department is doing well, the whole university will look at that head of department as being very successful because his department is doing well in terms of teaching, research, management, etc. So your success up to them, they have interest in your success. Right. Benefit of academic networking, many benefits. Professional networks are filled with opportunities. You never know. You meet someone, an academic person online, you talk to them, suddenly they say, we have a project, we have funding, we want you to be part of it, come and visit us. So that's an opportunity. You attend a conference, someone listens to your talk, and then immediately they say, come here, we want you to be a keynote speaker. That's an opportunity, etc. Some people may say to you, okay, we want you to write a chapter in our book. Our book is almost ready. We believe you are good to fill that gap in the book. So professional networking comes with opportunities. So it's always good to build, sustain, maintain your network. Academics with standing networks have an edge when it comes to grants, applications, award, mediation to students, and job offers. Sometimes people will, because they know you, if people know you, that's you have a network, you will get invitations to apply to better jobs or better opportunities, or to be involved in commercial projects. How this will happen? Only if people know who you are. It's based on your profile, it's based on how good you are in maintaining your network. Some may see networking as making friends taxing and distasteful, as being offering too much service to the network, so I have to shut the door now. That's the wrong approach, because you could be giving for 6 months, which can be tiring, could exhaust you, but you may have the opportunity to receive back in one day, and that will change your life. So the opportunity is just behind the door. You don't know that. So you have to be patient. You just need to be patient. If I give you an example, I was invited once to act as an external observer or mentor on a workshop organized by a university in the UK, different university of mine, in Kazakhstan. So I went there, it was a week, and then someone from Kazakhstan asked me to do a project with their university. So I did, which was really good, and I still have connection with them. So if I said no to the invitation to go to Kazakhstan, because they covered my expenses, did not pay me anything, which is absolutely fine. I got to know many people, I've seen a new country, and that workshop opened the door for me. So this is how it works. If I did not go, the opportunity would have been missed. The same for when I'm here. I got to know Jilani on the project. I think I reviewed the paper, or he invited me. I don't remember how it worked. And we are working on the paper. And then he said to me, we have opportunity of business. I wanted to apply. I applied, and here we go. So it's connection. It's networking. Yeah. You never know. We may do projects together with anyone, which will be a good opportunity. So it all starts at networking, paying respect, and be mindful. Tendency of friends from networking can limit some from reaching their full potential. How networking aids research and researchers? Networking helps researchers to access resources, information, and support. When you know people, then it's easy for you to get information. Sometimes you work with someone, or you work on a project, you need data. you don't have access to the data. So if you partner with someone else, you invite them as a co-author, they may have access to the data, so they sort out the problem of your research. Network can provide researchers with opportunities for learning, obviously, where you meet with people, you see how they work, you see their style, their culture, and you learn from it. Really, attending even if you attend classes with your colleagues, just to observe their teaching, you will learn a lot. And that will help you to see other people teaching style, and you start to think of your weaknesses. If you don't do it here in this university, I would advise absolutely everyone to just go and attend your colleagues' classes and see how they teach. You can criticize them positively and criticize yourself as well. So you're there. Networking improves quality of research and job satisfaction, and also it allows you to explore opportunities. If you know many people, and if there is opportunities, people will invite you to apply for jobs. Factors of effective networking, so it's a long-term connection, it's not hit and run. So it's not based on, you send me a paper to review for you, I'm more than happy to invest my time in supporting you, and then the minute you get the feedback, you just disconnect with me. It won't work like this, because you will easily find yourself building that reputation of don't help that, don't help. He's known for not being supportive. Systematic maintenance of contacts is not what you want to need, so keep it up. It won't hurt too much in Christmas to say Merry Christmas, or in New Year to say Happy New Year. Even with those people who you don't see every day or every now and then. So keep the contact with people. Building the trust between the parties to the network is key to the trust and skill, and constant expansion of the academic network. The more you know, the more the network is the better. Now, how to build effective academic network? Hopefully that will answer this question. So, be intentional about getting to know the colleagues, help them. So be ready to help, and be sure people will be able to help you out. Be supportive. Everyone has potential. Don't look down at anyone at all, because we are academics. We can't be better than each other. I can't claim to be the best here in superior. No. Everyone has potential. Everyone has strength, and everyone has weaknesses as well. So I'm standing here today, I will sit there tomorrow and I can listen to you, because you can't teach me, I can't teach you, because that's how it works. Now, there are platforms, ResearchGate, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. For academics, most of us, we use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very powerful platform. It's really very powerful. Connect you easily with people with similar interests in you. If you don't have LinkedIn account, create one today. ResearchGate is good because you can show your papers, your publications, and that will allow people to see them. And sometimes if people don't have access to the journals, they can request copies from you. So that will allow the research to be cited widely and more. Making friends in academia can truly be enjoyable, because it's a fact we work in isolation. Sometimes our jobs can be boring because you have a lot of things to do by your own. So making friends, talking to them, connecting with the minds is really good strategy. You always need a mentor. The mentor could be your best friend. You always need one. Tips for building academic network: join an association, join society, involved in conferences and workshops. I can't tell you story about myself when I started my research career. So if I'm attending a conference, I will take my coffee during the coffee break and stand in the corner waiting for people to come and say, I always thought if if I say I'm HAFEZ, she would say so what? So that would be embarrassing to me, which was completely wrong. In a conference, try to talk to as many people as you can. Tell them who you are, see who they are. Because you never know, the opportunity could be anywhere. Get involved in conferences, take up workshops and masterclass opportunities. If you are invited, invest your time in workshops. It's worth it. It's good to see other people work. It's good to contribute to other people's success as well. Develop social media presence, as I said. LinkedIn is a good platform. ResearchGate, even Facebook, fine. Show what you do on Facebook. In addition to your photos, in addition to your whatever, show more. Get people to see it. Also, learn how to say no with a smile. Very important. This is very important. I am always accused of not smiling. And people think I am very, very serious, and it's not easy to get close to me. I know myself. I don't know how to smile, but I try. So, how with a smile, that's the key. This is how people open up for you. Make yourself visible. Important. Make yourself visible. What are your skills? What are you good at? And also, make yourself ready to help others. Now, last word. A key point in any networking relationship is mutual. People will be willing to help you for all sorts of reasons, but a strong incentive for them to help you is to get you ready when they need you, and you should be ready. External examining their doctoral students. I don't know how to work here. In the UK, the external examining for PhD students. For each PhD student, we usually have two examiners, one internal from the same university and one external from another university. Now, if someone approached me and said, can we examine my PhD student? If I say yes, that means I committed myself for 10 days of hard work. A PhD thesis, that's there, you read, you have to read it, report on it, and go and examine the student. So it takes about 10 days, and the payment for examining the PhD student is nothing. It's like a peanut. So it's really nothing, it's not worth the effort. But if I examine your student, I would expect you to say yes when it comes to examining my student, because it's commitment. If I know you are not ready to examine my student, be sure I'm not going to accept examining your student, because it's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of hard work. That's one. Reviewing your paper, I'm more than happy to, but I would expect you to review my papers when I need you. So that's how it works. These are good books about networking, if to read a bit. Taking the word of networking, that's it. And networking for people who do not hate people. These are really good books, so if you find them in the market, keen to know, please have a chance. Questions, comments, contribution?
I really appreciate your comments regarding the way we engage in networking. Here in Brazil, the regulator of the graduation programs has some metrics that evaluates how students are being stimulated to engage into networking. We have metrics for submissions to conferences, to journals, not only for the professor, but only the professor with the student, a way to make us participating in inserting them into the community. And it's quite interesting because when I was a PhD student a few years ago, more than a decade ago, there was no such incentives. And I've had several colleagues that their supervisors didn't circulated with them in conferences, didn't introduce them to no one. And it really impacted the careers of these colleagues.
It does.
And it's really common in Brazil. You see groups of professors talking among themselves in the conferences and the students in another space. And what I've been doing some research in terms of community building with Alain and other colleagues. that this kind of insertion that we need to contribute to the youngest one, introducing them to people, starting a conversation, saying what they are researching is important for them to engage and become active scholars in the field. So I really like that part. And I know that my supervisor did not do exactly this with me, introducing me to people, but I followed his path. He attended a specific conference, I went to the same conference, and I started talking to people, despite he did not introduce me to anyone.
Yeah, it is important. Now, two things. Sometimes if I'm supervising a doctoral student, I may come to a point where I stop with the student. So even if I explain more and more to him about anything, about his research methods or his analysis, whatever, and if I feel my student is not picking up what I want him or her to pick up, I may approach one of my colleagues and say, I have a problem with my student, can we talk to them? Mm-hmm. So if my colleague is happy to, then that may sort out my problem. But I should be ready to talk to their students if they need me. That's why. My students today are my colleagues tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes.
And my students today are my colleagues today can bring a lot of opportunities to me. Not because I'm their supervisors, but at that time, maybe I am their colleagues. Mm-hmm. So why would I find a student? A student is a doctor, a student is a colleague. So in a few years, he will be a doctor, or she.
Yeah.
Any more questions or contributions? Please.
Queria saber se ele acredita que a importância das redes, né, de network, para pesquisadores em países como o Brasil tem uma mesma importância para o desenvolvimento de uma carreira internacional que teria para pesquisador nos Estados Unidos ou
He was asking if the relevance of being inserted into a network, if you are a Brazilian scholar, is bigger or not than it is to a US or UK or Syrian scholar. How do you see that kind of network building for scholars from the global south?
I don't see any barrier around networking. So you can network with people from Africa, you can network with people from wherever. Because if you are from Brazil and from the UK or Syria or Africa, the culture background, it does not mean anything in front of the experience you have or the opportunities you may offer me as a colleague. So I don't think there is a barrier for this at all. If we are in a conference, for example, we are equal. All of us are academics, we are equal. Everyone has his own project, or everyone has his own strength, his history behind him, and we are equal. So nobody is superior to the other. I don't see, for example, two colleagues from Europe, for example, talking and trying to avoid someone from Africa or from Brazil. This will never happen at all. Because as I said, this is if we are keen to build the network. So if this happens, it's kind of, unfortunately, it will be kind of discrimination, because I will be discriminating you based on your nationality. But in this case, I would be stupid forgetting about your skills and your experience and the opportunities you may offer me. And at the same time, showing less respect to people, in the same level of thinking to me. So I don't think there is a barrier based on nationality. It will be only difficult, for example, if we are in a conference and we don't speak the same language, then that would be a real problem. So if I want to communicate with someone who does not understand my English or my Arabic, then it will be difficult. And that's the communication, but nothing else.
And sometimes regarding this topic, I've been in several conferences and I see people from everywhere speaking the English they are able to speak. And no one is afraid of doing a mistake, of using a wrong preposition or anything, as I'm doing here. I'm translating without being a translator. But people really try to engage in this conversation, so you don't have to be afraid and shy.
At all. always remember, always, say hi with a smile. That's the key. And when you smile to people, the only thing they will do, they will smile back to you. That's the way. And the smile open conversation. Easy. That's what we believe. Any more comments or contribution? Please.
Vou fazer uma pergunta em português também sobre aquelas redes sociais que estão fazendo ResearchGate, acredito que seja uma das principais, né? Informação internacional. E você poderia ter alguma coisa sobre essa questão hoje do professor, influenciador, dessas redes, como para utilizar mais?
She's asking about the social networks. She sees that ResearchGate seems to be the major one that everyone connects and see each other. So she want to know a bit which network do you prefer, is more common and used, and how do you see this possibility of the researcher becoming a social influencer, going beyond a different sort of communicating research results? How do you see it happening in the UK?
Okay, that's everywhere, not only in the UK. So the social networking platform, there are many. Facebook, for example, Facebook is there for anything, for photos, for stories, for love, for jokes, for whatever. But I myself, I use it for academic connections as well. I'm not a Facebook user. I have a Facebook account. I use it a bit, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. Because this is where you show your opinion, you comment on others' stories, and this is how you become seen, more seen. The ResearchGate is there, so it's only to show your research, you upload your papers if you want to know to, or you show abstract, etc. So people see what you do academically. But for example, on LinkedIn, there is opportunity to share your opinion, to listen to others, to follow stories of certain themes or topics. So I myself am very active on LinkedIn, and I find it very useful. Even I recruit interviewees from LinkedIn. Yeah, because people who are in a practice, you connect with them. Sometimes if you need their help for your research, people are willing to. So it's a good platform. I would suggest everyone to have a LinkedIn account. But don't leave your Facebook account because you still need it. People need to see what you are doing. If you ResearchGate, keep it. Instagram, anything. So don't miss the opportunity to make yourself seen as a researcher and show people what you do, what you're good at. That's all.
And how do you manage it? Some minutes per day?
LinkedIn?
Yeah, on Facebook.
If, for example, LinkedIn is the first thing in the morning I will check, see who wrote what, see if there is interesting stories. These stories could give me ideas for new projects, for new research projects. It could link me with people who are, the same interest. Then, if between classes, for example, LinkedIn, let me see what happened, because LinkedIn is very fast. People, keep adding stuff, good stuff. LinkedIn is not a Facebook. It's not there for social interaction. In the new year, on LinkedIn, people say Happy New Year, Christmas, Merry Christmas, etc. So if you know someone celebrating birthday, you say Happy Birthday. It's fine, but it's more professional, as you know, than personal. So it's just find the time. We'll find the time. It does not take a lot of time, but it's like reading the news. So you just want to see what's going on around you, especially in your area, and who's writing what. So you can follow people who are good in certain things, who you want to follow and see you see their news, you see their projects, new publications, or their conferences. You can find a lot of conferences on also job opportunities. A LinkedIn is full of job opportunities. So it's a good platform. I use it, but it does not mean Facebook is less important or any social media.
I have a curiosity. So how do you divide your time between research and teaching?
Between research and teaching, very important question. If I'm teaching in blocks, for example, if I'm teaching in a semester, I will see which days I'm teaching. We don't teach 7 days. If I'm teaching 3 days, then I will use at least 1 day for my research. I have to. If in a week I'm not teaching, the full week is for my research. If I'm teaching 4 days, for example, in a week, and I have 1 day to prepare for my teaching, then this week is, I'm not going to be able to work on my research. But to me, I work during weekends. If I use the weekends, so I work during weekends. Yes, I believe every one of us work during the weekend. So it's a balance between the two. Now the key message here is we are academics. Every one of us can teach. We can teach. Some people are more skillful than others in teaching, but we can teach. You teach, you finish the class. The minute you leave it, it's gone. Nobody will remember you've done that class in that year. If you publish a paper, it stays there forever. That's in your name. So, as a researcher, I would say research is more important to me than teaching, but it does not mean teaching is not important. I care for my students, I care for to be up to date, and I have to make balance between the two. So I would say, in my case, research and teaching 50-50.
Okay. And just getting a little more deep in this topic because it's an important topic for us in the department. Could you please explain a little bit how it is organized at university to control of your workload for teaching and research and supervision and the metrics?
Yeah. In UK universities in general, there is kind of equation. So I believe it's 1,572 hours we do every year. So these 1,572, I believe. Yes. So these hours will be divided into research, teaching, and management. So in my university, for example, I think we get 540 hours of research. So from the 1,572, 540 are for research. And then what's left is for your teaching and management. So teaching and management. So if I do more management, I will be given hours as allowance to do the management. And what's left is for my teaching. So this is how it works. If I apply for research funding and I get funding, the university will give me hours based on how much funding I got. So that's how it works. So if I do less research, there are colleagues who will just do management and teaching. So they don't have 540 hours for their research because they don't do research. We call them research focused, so teaching focused, sorry. And their time is divided between management and teaching. So they teach more than us, but we do research. They don't. Okay? So that's how it works. And the management is different layers. For example, if I'm a course leader of a small course, I will probably be given 100 or 150 hours. But if I'm a course leader of a larger course, I may be given 300 hours. If I'm doing something else, like a head of department, I may be given more hours. So it depends on what kind of management you do. And as you know, management, as in academia, there are a lot of management tasks we have to do. Course leadership, head of departmentship, program leaders, even module leaders, academic misconduct committees, research ethics, etc. So there are a lot. So anything you do will have a tariff, and that's it. So it's equation. And it's slightly different from one university to the other, but the concept is always there.
Sometimes controlled with a spreadsheet and Excel.
Yeah, there is always a system, and usually the head of department and his deputy will be the ones who are responsible. So if you take a new management role, they will go to the spreadsheet of the system, add the hours to you, and then it will go. Perfect. Any more question? Okay, the last bit, I promise, it's the last bit. Research strategy measure, it's just a few slides. Right. Research strategy measures. We, as a researcher, we need to be interested and careful about these measures. So the thing that will give me a lot of text is publications and citations. How many papers, in which journals, and how many times I'm cited, what impact my publications have. Then the impact of your research is very important. That's how it impacts the policy, how it impacts the practice, and how it impacts the research and literature. So if you are doing a research study, for example, with the city council, and you sorted out a problem for the city council, so the research will have a local, regional impact. If you are doing research on the national level, you may do something related to the national policy, and that will be, again, aid the impact of your study. Securing grants is very important. I don't know how the system works here. We, in the UK and in Europe in general, we have to keep applying for research funding. So when you apply for funding, you may be able to buy teaching part. So part of the funding is to pay for part of your teaching. For example, 30 hours of your teaching, 50 hours or whatever, depending on how large the funding is. And then, if you have research money, then your life is much easier because it's your budget, it's your money. You can use it to cover expenses related to your research. If you want to hire a researcher, for example. So if you apply for funding, the money is there, you can hire someone to do literature review or the analysis for you. So things move fast. And your reputation, you as an academic, will be also enhanced by how many times you secure funding, how large the funds are. So this is one of the measures. Other parameters, visiting fellowship award, if you have the opportunity, don't miss it. Even if it's for a day, don't miss it, because that will set big your CV. Editorial committee membership for a journal, if you are invited to review. When you review more for the same journal, you have the right to approach the editors and say, I reviewed in the last 2 years, I reviewed, for example, 10 articles, and I would like to join your associate editorship. They will not say no to you. Because they know how many times you work with them. So if you are loyal to a journal, they will invite you, and that will be on your CV as well. Invitations to give guest lectures, these could be guest lectures in schools. It could be in charities, it could be wherever. If the opportunity is there, don't miss it. Mid-career fellowship, if you follow the British Academy website, there is a lot of funding for mid-career fellowships. You can apply for the funding, and then that will free you from teaching for almost a year, sometimes 2 years, and will pay your salary where you sit in university in the UK. So there are a lot of opportunities, just follow them. External reviewer for national grant awarding body. I know this is a stressful job. I do it myself. So if you get invited to do application for funding, don't say no. Never say no to these opportunities. Although they take a lot of time, sometimes I reviewed an application of 56 pages. But the professor who applied for that grant, very well known professor, she used to work in the UK, she's not in the US, and I was privileged to review her. She does not know I will have obviously, but I feel privileged to have been forced to review such a person's application for funding. Membership of faculty unique policy group, etc. So these are things that aid and help. Sometimes you can be a member of practical committee or in the city council or in a charity or whatever. So don't miss these opportunities. The way ahead, what would you like to be known for or have achieved in the next 5 to 10 years? So this is back to what we said at the beginning. Think about it. Do you want to be lecturer forever? Do you want to just be a PhD student forever? Or do you want to be a doctorate? Yeah, because some PhD students, some doctorate students spend ages on their doctorate and they never think to finish.
Yes, I agree.
It becomes too boring to them to revisit their thesis. So, if you are a PhD student, you need to think, I need to finish, I need to start my practical life. If you are a lecturer, you need to think, okay, I'm a lecturer now, I need to be associate professor in 8 years or whatever it takes, and I have to move up. As the same professor, we should move to the next level. That's it. This is our goal. What do you need to do to be there in 5 to 10 years? That's where you create a checklist for yourself and say, okay, to be there, I have to go through these steps. Let me see, next year, how many steps can I do? What about the next 3 years? How many steps? What problems I may have? If I have problems, how can I approach them? Who can help me? So try to keep looking ahead. Don't just think of your next class. You will go to that class, you will teach, you will mark the students' work, and you will do it. So don't think of the very short term things you need to do. Right. I finished the session. So any questions, any comment, contribution will be most welcome.
What about in the next 5 years? My plan for 5 years. I want to be a visiting scholar, visiting professor in an institutional abroad. This is something that I find difficult because sometimes we can have a funding from Brazil to go, but we are a visiting researcher, not a visiting professor.
It could be the same because if you are a visiting researcher, may open the door widely for you to be a visiting professor. So it could be one will lead to the other because that's a very interesting point to be honest, because if you go as a visiting researcher, even for a month, you will have the opportunity to meet with colleagues from different universities, and then depending on your strength, your ability, you may be invited to be a visiting professor in that university or in any other university. So it's one will lead to the other, but it's always good to have a group. So why not?
Yeah. Thank you. Perguntas? Perguntas, pessoal aqui na sala? Yeah, this is great. Thank you, HAFEZ.
Thank you.
We have some comments here from YouTube before saying that your speech was fantastic.
Wonderful. Any questions from the audience?
No questions, but they are congratulating you for the presentation. I think for the PhD students were great to listen to some details that they didn't know what is coming ahead.
Thank you for investing the time in coming here to listen to my talk.